Hello, and welcome to the League of Statistics. I'm Zurza, and in this video of League Around the World, we'll be looking at Rampage from Japan. Rampage has relatively low KDAs compared to the average of teams coming into the play-in stage, with the only exception being their AD carry. Of note, their AD carry has the highest kill share percentage of any AD carry in the play-in stage, while their mid laner has the lowest kill share percentage of any mid laner in the play-in stage. These two pie charts show the minion share percentage divided by role for Rampage and the outer circle, and the play-in average and the inner circle. What's interesting to note about Rampage is that they're relatively average across the board for each role. The only real discrepancies are in AD carry and jungle, where they have slightly more farm than the average. Moving on, this chart shows the kill share percentage between the play-in average and Rampage. What's interesting to note is that Rampage gives considerably more kills to their AD carry and their jungler than the average, whereas they also give considerably less to their mid lane than average, whereas top and support are about in line. This is indicative of their playstyle, as they generally rely on their AD carry to make plays in the mid to late game and carry them to victory. Finally, we'll look at the gold share percentage between the play-in average and Rampage, and as you can see from this chart, they're relatively average across the board, with no clear discrepancies shown in the charts. With the statistics out of the way, there are 4 areas of the play that I want to highlight using in-game footage that are crucial to their success or failure during the play-in stage at Worlds. The first area I want to highlight is that they don't use vision in their engages, and often blindly engage into opponents. In this clip, we see Jarvan blindly engage onto their team without knowing full well where the rest of the enemy team is. He could likely be engaging potentially into a full team, starting a team fight that could have gone poorly for them. Now, in this game, they're far enough ahead that they're allowed to make this play and still have breathing room should it go bad. But it's indicative of other issues with the team, as we'll see in this next clip. Now, in their first game against DFM, we see another one of their issues here in this clip, in that they poorly use teleport. Cho'Gath teleports to save a clearly dead Tristana, wasting it. But furthermore, going back to their blind engages, as you see on the blue side of their jungle, Jarvan is recalling. Now, he could be flanking. Based on their vision, they don't know where he is. Still, they engage on the mid lane onto a Heimer who is itemized defensively and has barrier to stall out the damage, allowing the bot lane, who was top, to be able to rotate mid. And as you'll see soon, Xayah comes in and is able to clean up these kills. Now, it's a 2-for-3 trade, but it puts DFM in a position to push down that turret. Now, continuing on with poor play around TP, here, Gragas counter ganks the Elise. Now, this is the first proactive play that he has actually made in this game, and it's the first time he's ulted. I'll get more into their jungle later. But with Cho'Gath dead, they don't have TP, whereas DFM do. However, RPG's bot lane still goes aggressive. Now, they go aggressive with no TP available. The enemy, however, responds with using TP. As a result of the TP, they're able to get a kill on the Tristana. Now, this sets in motion a chain of events that balloons their lead from about 1,500 to 5,000 in the span of 3 minutes. So, moving on, with Tristana dead and just coming back, they don't have the pressure needed for Gragas to go this deep into the enemy jungle. In fact, he ends up running into the enemy bot lane as he's warding, which he should have expected. When he gets caught out, Cho'Gath teleports again to try and save someone who is clearly dead. They again waste teleport, and as a result, now DFM don't have to worry about a feast or a smite. They have the enemy jungler dead, and they are positioned for dragon. Also, Cho'Gath dies, and has kind of been indicative of this game, as he's been dying a lot, and he's really far behind the Jarvan. That was due to vision mistakes that he made during the game, but it gives DFM the first of meaningful entries. Now, this is the final TP misplay, in which Alistar and Gragas get caught out trying to defend vision improperly. And while this is a 3v4, Cho'Gath teleports way too early without the support of Tristana and Corki, and ends up being a 1v4. and he teleports in just to die. He isn't able to get much damage down because they can just solely focus on killing him, and he dies. Now the TP issues aren't limited to just the top laner. Mid laner also has his fair shares of poor teleport plays. In the final game against DFM, to go to Worlds, early on in the game, Corki teleports back to mid lane, while knowing Rek'Sai is on his blue side of the jungle. Furthermore, he's teleporting to lane in clear view of an Echo, who can easily set up his stun on him. With the Rek'Sai for support, they both trade flashes, but he dies, giving up first blood. Now going back to RPG's jungler, when he's on a tank jungler like Gragas, he plays incredibly passive, despite Gragas being good relatively in the early game. But if he's against an aggressive jungler like Rek'Sai or Elise, he struggles hard. Like here, he gets his second blue buff stolen away by the Rek'Sai, who's been harassing him in the jungle. Further on in the game, here, we can see his third blue buff also gets taken away, after Rek'Sai has also continuously been harassing him in his own jungle. You'll see, after they take blue buff, Rek'Sai has so little fear of retaliation from both Gragas and his team that he actually stays in his blue jungle. He knows that Gragas isn't going to do anything. He knows the lanes aren't going to do anything. He pretty much has free reign of Gragas' jungle. And in fact, goes and harasses him, contesting his Gromp. And in doing so, forcing Gragas' flash. In this game, Gragas does not even make a gank in the first 20 minutes of the game. He doesn't ult until much later as well. Now, moving on to how RPG wins games. So, they play a very passive game throughout. They normally will sacrifice their T1 turrets as they have in this game, but they heavily play on enemy mistakes, like right here. Thresh and Kalista split damage, and as a result, they aren't able to take down either Lulu or Tristana. Thresh even later misprioritizes who to attack, and allows Lulu to live when he could have autoed her. Lulu living here allows the Tristana to continue to play aggressive, despite being at low health because of her consistent shields from Lulu. And as a result, they take 2 kills off of this mistake, getting them back in the game. Now moving on, DFM in this game correctly realizes that they need Baron to break these T2 turrets. RPG also realizes this, and continually keep presence around Baron, to continue stalling out the game to get to their late game where they'll win. In doing so, they always have this presence to contest when DFM goes for Baron, as they do here. Now, they do so because they know that eventually DFM will make a mistake around the Baron that they can capitalize on. So here, RPG loses their top laner, DFM gets a number advantage, and they think that they can take Baron if they overstay. However, that's what RPG wants. They want DFM to overstay at this Baron. They want Baron to get them low, and then they can put pressure and force DFM to either back off or engage upon them, whereas DFM chooses to engage. In doing so, it leaves them at low health for this Tristana to start getting kills on these low health targets and getting resets. In the course of this, she gets 3 kills, putting their team back in the game. Tristana hits her 2.5 item spike off of this, where Corki hits his 2 item spike. And now, finally moving on to the last counter engage that they have in this game to put them in the position to close out. They again make this play around Baron. This time, they're the ones baiting Baron, but they get engaged upon. Now watch Tristana's positioning in this fight, as the ADC of Rampage really shines in these team fights. So with their ultimates down, they just need to re-engage. Jarvan ults a Maokai and an Echo. It's not a big cataclysm, but it forces them into this fight and to be disengaging. Tristana actually aggressively flashes forward here to pick up the kills. And this shows how they win these games. They wait to be engaged upon and then win through superior team fighting. Now, this may be well and good for their region, but they're coming into play-ins where other teams can either team fight as well or better than them, and are going to make a lot less mistakes to allow them to get into the game. That's where I see their playstyle really being abused coming into play-ins. To summarize, Rampage has a very passive style of play throughout the game, both early, mid, and late game. This is compounded upon by the jungler having little to no gank pressure, or just pressure in general, at the early stages of the game, sometimes even to the 20-minute mark. On top of this, their lanes have very infrequent interactions between each other. They don't really roam from lane to lane. They instead kind of stay in their own world and focus on getting advantages in their lane. On top of this, they rarely engage. They instead prefer to play counter-engage styles. And when they do engage, they normally have blind engages that are more reactionary. However, to their credit, they punish enemy mistakes very well. In order for them to even be successful at this stall style tactic, they have to be able to identify and punish enemy mistakes properly, and that they do well. To do this, they normally stall out around T2 turrets and Baron. They sacrifice the T1, they make the area in which they have to defend smaller, and focus on only that small region and Baron. In doing so, they stall out these games to the later portions where their composition will start to win in teamfights. And teamfights are the big area for this team. They do really well in teamfights. A lot of this on the back of their AD carry, who has really good positioning, is always attacking in fights, and generally carries them through these fights. So, how they're going to win these games? They're going to stall out the game until about 30-40 minutes, and then rely on their AD carry's exceptional mechanics to carry them through these fights. Now, this is all well and good, as I've said, for them in their home region, but coming into the playing stage at Worlds, you have to wonder how much this passive style of play is really going to be punished by other teams. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. For updates on videos, follow us on Twitter. And from everyone here at the League of Statistics, thank you for watching.